Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast presented by We Know Fantasy. As always, my name is Nate with We Know Fantasy, and joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, how are we doing today?
We're doing all right, Nate. Definitely could have been better for both of us on the golf betting fronts. DP World Tour, you littered the top of the board and just nobody home. Daniel Brown, nobody tipped him. And then similarly for the PGA Tour, Brian Campbell, another ridiculous number, two-time PGA Tour winner in like 30 something starts, two more than Tommy Fleetwood, one more than Tyrrell Hatton. Just the list goes on
List
and
goes
on.
on.
But I was on Grillo. Thought I had it in the bag. Then I thought he was just lost, um, and made his way to the playoff, hit every single fairway down the stretch, gets on the tee, shanks it all the way to the right like Davis Thompson did on 18, and I knew it was trouble from that point forward, and that it was. Good for Brian Campbell. Great story for the PGA Tour. Not great for anyone with some wallets who is being tracked by the Golf Tips Tracker because nobody had either winner.
Yeah, it's a wild week when both tours, no one was on the winner, and DP World Tour was a tough one because I had Kazuma Kapori at 200 to 1 with a legitimate chance. I mean, I want to say a legitimate chance, right? He had a -9 round with a bogey in there, like he could have shot -10, -11. Uh, insane round. Just that first round, I think he was shot even par the opening day, which kept him out of it because he went berserk Friday through Sunday. And that was a difference maker. And then Daniel Brown, just I hate to say it, like a notorious loser of the DP World Tour. Like he's been around for ages on the DP World Tour, litters top fives, top tens left and right, and then goes on to finally win. And just one of those guys. I mean, he's won before, but it's forever ago. And again, been around for the longest of time and just never gets it done. And him and Jordan Smith, same guys, same
Yep.
exact guys. They're identical, like great golfers, just can't get it done. And final, I mean, they're the final two. They were 1 and 2. You can't write this. You can't make this stuff up. And then, yeah, I had Kapori, Raitan, and someone else eluding me at this point.
Laporta.
Yeah, Laporta, who was like seventh or sixth or fifth or something like that. PGA Tour, same thing. Kevin Roy came in, posted 17 under, and I thought there was a chance with at that time. I think Grillo dropped a stroke. Campbell did like a double at the time to get back to 17 or 16. And I thought maybe there's a chance Kevin Roy goes to a playoff, and he was playing great golf as well this entire week. So, yeah, just another week where I had a ton of opportunities to cash a car or cash a ticket. And it's been a long time coming. I mean, started off so hot to start the season. I think I used all my luck to start the season because it's been pretty jury sense. Good thing the first round leader mark has been good to me because I'd be hurting if not. Um, but yeah, this week we move forward. We move forward. That's what we do here with golf. We put behind the last week behind us and we move forward. Genesis Scottish Open, we're finally across the pond for one of two stops in what is this? The UK is yeah,
Yeah.
Scotland is the UK, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Don't come at us. We're
Yeah.
not, yeah, we're dumb
Europe.
Americans. We're dumb
Two
Americans.
stops in Europe.
Yeah, there we go. Just to be safe, just to all encompassing Europe. And then of course we're at the ISCO Championship here stateside. You have the fourth LPGA major in France at the Evian or the Amundi Evian Championship. Live is back this week. Corn Ferry's on. Hotel Planet Tour's on. There's a ton of golf this week, and of course next week the champion golfer of the year will be crowned at the Open Championship. What is it? The 151st playing, I believe, but maybe 152, something like that. Either way, Jake, we're gonna be finding you on social media.
Yep, you can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. Both my outright cards for the Genesis Scottish Open and ISCO Championship are already posted there, so be sure to check those out. Also, be sure to check out our Discord, completely free to join, no hidden paywalls once you're in there, access to everything, access to, interact in the chat, post your picks, do everything. It's a great community we've got there with over 175 members. Nate does a community wager tracker, which is just awesome. Pretty much just combines everyone's picks into one easy tracker, and that's how we track on Sundays who's in contention, who to root for, who to not root for, who to jinx, who to not jinx kind of deal. Brian Campbell definitely received some jinxes on our end, got to the playoff, and then we had used up all of our luck there. But again, also NASCAR, Devin and Cody running that channel, have had a pretty good season as far as I know. Active, on race days. So if you're interested in that also, be sure to join.
Yeah, the NASCAR channel has been going pretty strong since it started. There's a few other people besides Devin and Cody in there that stay active. And of course, just a free tool at your fingertips. It's where I post my exclusive first round leader bets. Have been very kind to me this year, and just alluded to it. If it weren't for them, I'd be pretty dry as of late. If there's exclusive content, like you said, matchups, now I'm doing like live articles and stuff. So technically not exclusive there, but yeah, a lot of great stuff. So be sure to check that out. You're gonna follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKFNate. Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. Be sure to visit WeKnowFantasy.com for some more fantasy sports content. Fantasy baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, golf, everything between we have you covered. On there, you can find my golf betting article series. Uh, each and every week, PGA Tour, DP World Tour, LPGA Majors. If you're looking for the DFS content, as we used to do on this podcast a while ago at this point, you can find that breakdown, my favorite suggestions per week there on those articles. I'm going to try to expand and do when Live has their events, doing articles for that LPGA each and every week. I'm trying. It's very hectic and a lot of work, but I'm trying to get it done and see what we can do with those other tours as well. Beyond that, I think that I think that totals everything up.
Yeah.
Got lost there in thought, but if I forgot something, blame Jake. All right. Moving on to the Genesis Scottish Open. This is the fourth year that has been a co-sanctioned event between the DP World Tour and PGA Tour. Before that, it used to be a DP World Tour staple, kind of one of their, I don't know if it was technically a flagship event, but it was one of their premier events in terms of field size because, I guess, quality of field, because PGA Tour players have come over to play this in preparation for the Open each and every week, or excuse me, season, and therefore it has then become a co-sanctioned event along the way. So Xander Schauffele won the first play-in. Rory McIlroy chased down Robert McIntyre in the 2023 edition, and of course Robert McIntyre, kind of iffy on how you want to call that, coming down the stretch there with that free drop he got off. I don't know, it was a sprinkler head or something last year that maybe was a little bit of a home field advantage in his book, but either way, claimed his national open. I think it was the first time a Scotsman won that since 19 what Colin Montgomery was the one prior to that anyhow. So been a long time. So good for him in doing that there. Renaissance Club hosting yet again. It's hosted since 2019, I believe. This event, like I said, has been a staple of this tour since its inception, since 1972. So been around for a very long time. Of course, most of the world's best will be in attendance this week in preparation for the Open Championship next week. You have each of the top five of the OWGR, Rory or Scotty, Rory, Xander, Justin Thomas, and Colin Morikawa on 1 through 5 there. In all, 17 of the top 25 and 32 of the top 50 will be in attendance, of course. JJ Spawn, Straka, Ludwig Ober, Victor Hovland, Tommy Fleetwood, Robert McIntyre, the list goes on and on. On the DP World Tour side of things, because this event co-sanctioned, you have 75 spots for PGA Tour, you have 75 spots for the DP World Tour. Laurie Cantor is the highest ranked member of the OWGR in that aspect, joined by Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Sean Norris, Christopher Raiton, Hotong Lee, Martin Kuvra, Jordan Smith, John Perry, and Kaito Nakajima, just to name a few of the full-time DP World Tour members leading the way. It's a little bit skewed because I think they used last year's rankings in a bit. So, like, some of the guys that would occupy a DP World Tour spot are technically on the PGA Tour and vice versa. It's a whole thing, but those are some of the more notable full-time DP World Tour guys. Mentioned it, McIntyre topped Adam Scott, dramatic fashion a season ago to become the first, yes, Scotsman since 1999, and Colin Montgomery to claim this title. Yeah, other former winners, you have Aaron Ryan 2020, Bernd Weisberger in 2019, Alex Norton in 16, Justin Rose in 14, and Luke Donald in 11, back when it was a DP World Tour only event. So the Renaissance Club is described as a modern links course that was established in 2008. As a modern links course set in the birthplace of golf, the course differs from the usual PGA Tour tracks, but offers a great change of pace. Par 71, 7,293 yards. Unique mixture, 4 par 5s, 5 par 3s, and 9 par 4s this week. The Renaissance Club is a Tom Doak design and has become his most notable achievement in his famed architecture career. Other Doak course, of course, Memorial Park and St. George's. This course has been the home of the Scottish Open of the DP World Tour, the Scottish Senior Open of the European Senior Tour, and the Ladies Scottish Open on the Ladies European Tour. So even though it's a rather new course, it has seen it all over the years. Seventh consecutive year this event, or this venue, has hosted this event, sitting just outside of Edinburgh. And on the coastline, the course is exposed to the North Sea. That makes it, swirling winds off the coastline golf, all of that, unpredictable winds along the way. And weather definitely will have its say in who wins this. We've seen it when the wind is up and the weather is a factor. I think Xander won this at -7 in 2022, and if we've seen as low as like -20 and -21 in some of these events when the weather is allowing. I mean, it's the same thing with all links courses over there. They can be you can score super low on a lot of these, and then depends what the weather has, as was the Open last year with Xander. He just literally waited the storm figuratively and literally better than anyone and came out on top there. Fairways are wide and generous, but run firm and fast, as the way the links course is. Fairways are wide and generous. There is a presence of penal, fescue, and pop bunkers throughout. Of course, firm and fast conditions off the fairway. The style, of course, tempts golfers to use the ground more. A lot of runouts, and this is where average driving distance is a plus on link style, but it's not necessarily an end all, because if you can play it low and firm, stingers as you call them, there's a lot more chance for run out and keep some of these short hitters in contention along the way. Um, Course includes four reachable par fives, a drivable par four, and five par fours over 450 yards. Subtle intricacies on the greens will cause fits to even the world's best putter. Jake talked about this before the podcast started. Putting will be the difference maker here. Smaller than average size greens, of course. Lag putting will be important around the green play. All of that. It's links golf, guys. You know what you're getting at this point. Beyond that, I mean, this isn't a super special course in any means. Like, I mean, again, 2019, the winning score is minus 22. Xander won in 2022 at -7. So it just depends on what the weather wants to do this week for us. Right now, I think it looks super clear. I think there's like
Yeah.
zero chance of like precipitation. If at what most a 20% chance, I think. 68 degrees, super low winds. Of course, coastal winds can come in a hurry and out of nowhere, but beyond that, weather looks really clear this week. So, yeah, Jake, anything to add before we move forward?
Yeah, definitely monitor that wind as we get closer to teeing off. This is something you should look into on Wednesday. Right now, it looks like Thursday is going to be pretty windy. Scores are going to be tough on Thursday, but it looks like Friday through Sunday right now are as ideal as conditions as you can get in Scotland. So don't be scared off by some crappy scores on Thursday. Just pay attention to a potential wave advantage there.
Yeah, if you're a first round leader player, definitely take advantage of it, because, you know, typically right now in the United States, there is really no like wave difference. There hasn't been, at
Yeah.
least in a few months, in terms of weather conditions and all of that. But this is definitely one of those courses and events, definitely overseas, that monitor those wave as you go.
Yep.
All right, Jake. I have five guys. I think you have four or five. I know you might have added one before we hopped on here. So I think we have five, and our top two are crossover. So I'll kick things off here and talk about that first crossover, and that's Ludwig Oberg at 30-1. And we're in the same boat. Numbers too good. Numbers too good. I know he's not playing his best golf. He hasn't been the Oberg we thought he would be, superstar out of the gates. He was 2 years ago when we were introduced to him. DP World Tour guy, of course, and then, golf of the year at Texas Tech and all of that. Elite talent. He won his kind of flagship event this earlier this year, the Genesis Invitational, not the Scottish Genesis or the Genesis Scottish Open, either way. Yeah, he's currently 13th on the tour off the tees, 25th in driving distance, 42nd birdie or better, 61st in ball striking, 62nd tee to green, 83rd on approach. The stats really don't do him justice, because when Oberg comes out and he's on, he can win any event, right? The stats aren't always. I hate to say this about, there's certain guys where their stats don't match up to how good they are or how well they'll play. Of course, you load the stats, you see Scotty Scheffler leading every metric, sure, so be it. Think of Jordan Spieth back there and his dominance. Like, what he can do on a golf course doesn't translate into a figure on the stat card. Same thing with kind of like Oberg. Like, he crushes the ball a mile. He hits it rather straight along the way. His irons can get hot, and it's always come down to the putter for him. But I think the advantage of playing overseas, growing up in Sweden, and then playing DP World Tour golf will be an advantage for him this week. And we're waiting for him to get right, I guess you could say. I mean, he's had some chances like the Masters. He was there, of course, won the Genesis early this season. A few flashes here and there, but it's really not the season we thought he would have. But again, 30-1 is a huge number for a guy of Oberg's caliber.
Yeah, seeing the fields and this caliber of player, like you said, 30 felt like a no-brainer, must click in my opinion. And like you said, if you look at the metrics from, the his previous couple starts, he's gaining on approach consistently. He's gaining off the tee consistently. The putter's even been positive too. It really is just the results aren't really following how well he's playing. I'm not exactly sure what the underlying reason is because of that, but a T4 here last year, a bit of a weaker field than he usually tees it up in, and at 30-1, it felt like a good headliner to start.
Yeah, and like of course, this is a top heavy event. Like you have the top five players in the world, the top 17, the top 25, all of that, but the bottom drops out real quick. You got 75 members of the DP World Tour here. I mean, there are some pretty good talents there. I'll talk about one later on my card, and think you will as well. But it's a rather weak field in the grand scheme of things from top to bottom. So when you're getting 30 to 1 for a Ludwig Oberg, when you're typically seeing him at 20 in a full 156 man PGA Tour field or a major field of that nature, 30 to 1 is a big number.
Yep.
All right. So, Jake, I'll let you kick off here with our next crossover guy.
Yeah, our next crossover guy here is going to be Sam Burns. I got him at 40 to 1.
Same here.
You know, we mentioned it earlier when Nate was talking about the course. Putting is going to be at the utmost importance to win this week. And how do I not take the best putter on the PGA Tour this season at 40 to 1? To add on to that, he's 19th in strokes gained total, 83rd off the tee, 127th on approach, which I'll talk about in a second, and
Yep.
then 78th around the green. That approach play has turned an absolute corner over the last month of golf for Sam Burns. He's gained about on average close to a stroke per round with those irons. He's come really close. He's burned a lot of people pretty badly recently. Canadian Open, a second place finish where he punted it a little bit. US Open, he had a two-stroke lead on the back nine and also punted it for a T7 finish. That was really the result of unfortunate conditions for
Mm-hmm.
Sam Burns. He also got screwed on a ball that was pretty much underwater that they made him play that everyone is making fun of now. But if you look over his form over the last couple of starts, even more than the last couple of starts, dating back to the end of April, just past the Masters, his worst finish is a T30 at the Truist, and he has a bunch of top 20 finishes along the way. Plus distance off the tee, best putter on the PGA Tour. Irons are clicking. It just makes a lot of sense. Sorry to ramble on, but also his course history here. He had a T19 in 2023 and a T66 in 2022. Didn't tee it up last year. A little surprised by that, but it it just makes a lot of sense for Burns this week.
Yeah, same thing. I ran my model this week and I was looking at things. I'm like, I don't really enjoy the top of what my model is telling me, and this will probably come back to bite me because of what I'm doing here. But it's how I landed on Oberg, and it's how I landed on Burns. You talked about it, the best putter on tour, and those irons were what has been keeping them down for so long. They've been really good, not just
Yeah.
good. They've been really good. You talked about it there. 0.13 strokes per round at the Travelers, 1.873 at the US Open, 1.143 at the RPC Canadian Open, 0.305 at the Memorial Tournament. So the last month and a half, you mentioned it. Those irons have been scorching hot. So you mentioned or combine that with his pluses off the tee, plus his elite putting. I think this is a great number to have Sam Burns head to this event at 40 to 1.
Yeah, and this is one that I have bookmarked too, because if he misses the cut or does not play well this week, I will be hammering him next
Oh,
week.
100%.
So again, this feels like a win-win almost to just take him here.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. He played really well at the US Open. He plays majors rather well along the way. So again, his number, I'm looking real quick here this year. Why can't I see Masters? I mean, made the cut the Masters, PGA, a 19th there as well, and then a seventh at the US Open. Plays majors really well. So again, take note of what he does this week, because again, if he misses the cut this week, you're gonna have a juicy, juicy number for the Open for him.
Yep.
All right, with those two out of the way, I guess we can differentiate ourselves a little bit here, Jake, and move forward. That first guy for me being Nikolai Hogard at 90 to 1. So I got my two top guys, if you want to call top guys, 30 and 40, going 90 to 1 for Nikolai Hogard. 24th here in his last out of the Rocket Classic. Prior to that missed cut in Canada, but 41 at PGA, fifth in Myrtle, 56 in Byron Nelson, and second at the Zurich Classic. 39th here a season ago, sixth in 2023, both those events being co-sanctioned. Currently fourth on tour in par five, seventh in birdie or better, ninth in driving distance. He's 12th in par three, 16th on approach, 32nd in ball striking, 47th putting, 51st tee to green, 52nd three putt avoidance, 90th off the tee. And of course, the problems with Nikolai come around the greens as he's 146 there and 173 and scrambling. Again, a guy who's grew up in Denmark, playing links golf a lot on the DP World Tour with his extensive stay there from a really young age. Plays well at this event with those performances there. Stats line up perfectly, and I've been waiting for the breakout for Nikolai Hogard. I once publicly deemed him better than Ludwig Oberg, so maybe this week when he can claim this event over Ludwig Oberg. Maybe both of them will go to a playoff, have a no sweat playoff down the stretch. Be fun. Haven't had one of those in a very long time. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I like the call here. I think both Højgaards, they play very similar
Yes,
styles of golf, and it just makes a lot of sense here. I'm going to say this probably four more times as we go through this. Driving distance, irons, putter. That is what they bring to the table. That's what's important this week. So it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a good shout.
there we go. Yeah, I have a. You'll see as I move forward. I have a pretty common outside of my top two, pretty common theme with my three other picks. So we'll move forward here. Jake, who's your next play?
Yeah, my next play here is going to be Matt Fitzpatrick. So, spoiler, I didn't take any long shots this week. In the three times, or in the three, time instances that this was a PGA Tour co-sanctioned and DP World Tour co-sanctioned event, the winners were Xander, Rory, and Bobby Mack. So I kind of felt or went with the logic that the cream usually rises here, and I went towards the top of the board here. But anyway, Matt Fitzpatrick, 45 to 1. It just he's playing much better golf as of recent than he did at the beginning of the season. And this is almost a little bit of a hedge in the sense, like if the wind does become a factor that I didn't account for or anything, he's a great player in the wind. He plays link style golf extremely well. He carries plus distance off the tee. The irons have been awesome, and the putter's been inconsistent, but he has the ability to spike almost nuclear to where if the putter is hot, he's going to be playing or contending come Sunday. He's also very, very good around the greens. He packs a very competent short game. On the season, he's 67th in strokes gained total, 57th off the tee, 87th on approach, 97th around the greens, and then 83rd putting. I think that's a little deceptive because of how bad he was to start the year.
Yes.
But at 45 to 1, it felt like I couldn't pass it up again. I think he's going to probably be the most popular when the tips chart comes out, but model says, model does.
Yeah, good course history as well. Second in 2021, although that was a DP World Tour event, and then sixth in 2022 in an Open, and then a miscut, and then a 39th. And when he fell out of form a bit from winning those events, the U.S. Open and the RPC Heritage back in 22 and 23. Good play along the way. We know what we're getting out of Matt Fitzpatrick. Hopefully, around the green work isn't needed here as much as I think it may be, but you talked about it. I mean, the same trend here, playing link style successfully, having some form of success there in the past. I know Xander at the time necessarily didn't, but he plays good golf that translates really well to link style. But then you see Rory McIlroy, of course, links player. Bobby Mack, links player. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. So, keeping with my trend, and you'll pick up on this here shortly. Next play for me will be Rasmus Niergaard Peterson. And I don't know if I needed to do this, but I felt like a DP World Tour guy was needed to be on the card. And the event that, Bobby Mack almost did it. He almost topped Rory McIlroy in 2023, started the 18th green with the lead before Rory McIlroy chased him down and win that event. Niergaard Peterson's kind of the cream of the crop, in my opinion, when it comes to the DP World Tour. A guy who has exploded through the ranks. I mean, he was a Challenge Tour / Hotel Planet Tour guy like a year and a half ago. He was a runner-up of the PGA Tour this season at one point. He's played the majors well. He was 12th at the U.S. Open, 22nd at Valspar, runner-up of the Puerto Rico. I mentioned that already. Third on the DP World Tour in ball striking. He's sixth in par five, seventh tee to green, eighth in off the tee and birdie or better, 19th on approach, 48th in driving distance, 49th in scrambling, 50th around the green. List goes on and on. 14th last week at the BMW International, missed back-to-back cuts at the KLM and Austrian Alpine Open. But again, he was also trying to bounce back between the United States, the U.S. Open, and coming back overseas and playing golf. You can be the best in the world and it still struggles to do that. Fourth in the Hanen, 10th in Volvo, China, second in Qatar with a very good field as well. A very, very good player, and we're seeing Denmark churn these guys out left and right. They must be like a copy machine or something there with the type of play these guys producing. So many young, Nicholas Norgard, the Hogard twins, and then Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, like carbon copies of each other. And I've already talked about Nikolai Hogard, so let's go with Rasmus Niergaard Peterson as well.
Yeah, his week will definitely be determined by the putter. Everything else is really there for him. Consistently plus distance off the tee, very, very solid with his irons. Yeah, I'm even contemplating saying that he can go nuclear with them. Like when he gains
Oh
with
yeah,
them, it's usually over a stroke per round. If this guy could find the putter, he's going to have a really good week here. And look, he finished T12 at the US Open a couple weeks ago. He's in some very good form. I like the shout at triple digit or close to triple digits, just
Yeah, it was
under.
triple. It was 100.
Oh, nice. There.
Yeah, so look at that.
Yep.
All right, who's your next guy?
Yeah, my final play here is going to be Adam Scott at 55 to 1. Do I love it? No. Does it make a lot of sense in my brain and in my model? Yes, at the same time. He's very good off the tee, like a complete off the tee player. His swing is as smooth as butter, plus distance off the tee and accurate as of recent. The irons in his last two starts have been absolutely nuclear. And he does pack a really good short game, above average around the green. The putter is very hit or miss, but it looks like it's been hitting a little bit more than not. On the season, 58th in strokes gained total, 33rd off the tee, 99th on approach, 51st around the greens, and then 114th putting. Last year he finished runner up here, solo second place, where he just gained across the board. Recent history or recent form, more so in the majors, it's a T19 at the PGA Championship, T12 at the US Open. It's just 55 felt a little too big to pass up on Adam Scott at a place that he could very easily have success at and win.
Yeah, he's been around for a very long time as well. He's seen it all. He's played every golf course. 44 years old and still gaining off the tee the way he does is a testament of his game. And it just there isn't, I guess, a direct translation between Australian golf and links golf, but it's very similar in my book. Very similar golf courses, maybe not the same sense in a few things, but yeah, I mean, it's very obvious. Second place here a season ago. He's playing in majors really well this season, still competing at the age of 44. And I think a win is coming. Like we've seen a bunch of these guys, the Jason Days of the world. I know it's been 2023 since then, and Justin Rose as well. He's competing again, things like that. But these are the type of golf courses where someone like an Adam Scott or these older guys can compete at. I mean, the link style is forgiving in many aspects. We talked about it because you can hit the low stingers and the ball rolls out. And if you have a patient game and don't allow yourself to find the fescue, and if you do, you're playing it right out. And instead of trying to be a hero and all of that, and I think Adam Scott has the maturity, of course, at 44 years old, to be able to do this. And again, second place last year says all you need to about that.
Yep.
All right, gonna round out my card here with another Dane in Thorborn Olsen. Been on him a bit recently and just loving what the model produces with him each and every week. He also has played this event each of the last 3 years, 39th last year, 25th in 2023, and 30th in 2022. Missed the cut last week with John Deere, but probably that 41 the Rocket. Missed cut the US Open, but 36 in Canada, 46 Charles Schwab, 33rd PGA, 7th Myrtle Beach, and 29th at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. 6th on tour in par threes, 16th in putting, and three putt avoidance, 18th in ball striking, 30th in par fives, 50th tee to green, 51st on approach, 55th in driving distance. So right there, plus distance, uh, slightly above average, if not above average on approach, and a very good putter so far this season. That's it, right? That's all we talked about. 100 to 1 form as well. A guy who's been around for a very long time, played the DP World Tour, maybe longer than anyone on this in this field even. So he's played a lot of links golf in his time and has a lot of success in all these similar golf courses.
Yeah, what I love about Olsen is that he likes to pop in a lot of different areas. So if he just clicks it together one week, we've seen it at the Valero Texas Open at T5, he gained across the board. At the Myrtle Beach Classic, gained across the board, finished T7. He's a nuclear putter. He gains consistently off the tee, and when those irons cooperate, that's where we see these spike finishes. And what better place to do it than here? So I really like the shot there.
Perfect. So yeah, I have about every Dane in the golf event on my card. So hopefully one of those gets it done. And it's not Rasmus. That's the only one I don't have. But yeah, that's it for the Genesis Scottish Open. Jake, anything to add before we move forward?
No, I think we covered it all.
All right, another event, the co-sanctioned event as well, alternate field event, the ISCO Championship. It too is co-sanctioned between the DP World Tour and PGA Tour. Once played prior to the, or opposite the Open Championship, now a week earlier opposite the Genesis Scottish Open. We'll see kind of the unsung heroes, the up and coming guys of the PGA Tour, and a chance to not only play themselves into the Open Championship if they are to win and not otherwise qualified, which if they're here, they probably aren't, but it's a good chance for someone to secure a card. We saw Harry Hall do it last year, won this event and claimed his card. And Yeah, this event's been part of the PGA Tour schedule since 2015, back in the Barbasol Championship up until 2 years ago. Previously held at Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail at Grand National Auburn, Alabama. Moved there to the Keene Trace Golf Club in Lexington, Kentucky in 2018. Was played there through last year, and this year we played for the first time at the Hertzborn Country Club in Louisville, Kentucky for the very first time. Again, there's 50 spots reserved for the European-based golfers, DP World Tour guys, but not all 50 spots will be occupied by them. With 75 already on the DP World Tour, not 50 will make the trip over here. Some will, though, in the hopes of gaining a PGA Tour card along the way. Most notable, probably Brandon Robinson Thompson of the DP World Tour, joined by Angel Leora, Marcus Armitage, Robin Williams, Marcus Kinholt, Fabrizio Zanotti, Hamish Brown, Ivan Quintero Gutierrez, Kazuma Kapori, and Andrea Pavon. A mixture of some veterans there, but more so just young guys hoping to come here, claim a victory, and skip the whole grind fest of the DP World Tour to get themselves a card sooner rather than later. Michael Thornton comes in as the highest ranked golfer of the OWGR at 103, joined by fellow PGA Tour members Bo Hostler, Mark Hubbard, Adam Hadwin, Justin Lauer, Patrick Fishburne, Rico Hoy, Vince Whaley, Seamus Power, Emiliano Grillo, and Harry Higgs. Harry Hall won this event last year at the Keene Trace Golf Club in a five-man playoff over Zach Blair, Pearson Cootie, Hoy, and Matthew Neesmith. So the Hertzburn Country Club was built in 1967 by Chick Adams. Keith Foster substantially renovated the course in 2005. Most of the routing was untouched, but the bunkers were upgraded in that renovation, and a little bit of distance was added. Par 72 at 7,007 yards. Off the tee, golfers will be faced with tight tree-lined fairways that feature many low-hanging limbs. Bunkers are strategically placed to be brought into play off the tee as well as on the approach surrounding the greens. 5 holes feature dog legs as well, which will force golfers to either attempt to cut the corner or lay up for a long approach shot. Water comes into play on 5 holes as well. Ponds are featured on the front as a creek comes into play in the back. Multiple holes are feature lengthy out of bound areas that run along the fairways as well. Something to note off the tee there. Notable holes include the par 4 second that plays the hardest hole on the golf course, and it is a 482-yard par 5 that features, or excuse me, par 4 that features a pond in front of the tee box and another pond situated halfway along the green or the fairway. The par 4 6 hole demands a good drive into a fairway before attempting a second shot over water onto an undulating green. The final 2 holes are what can make or break this any round of this golf course. The short par 4 17th features a green bordered by bunkers, and the unique par 3 finishing hole, the 18th, is the course's signature hole, plays uphill towards the classic clubhouse. Golfers will play from an elevated tee over a valley onto the green. 3 bunkers make hitting the green rather difficult. So again, those final 2 holes will have their way into deeming a champion come Sunday. Jake, anything to add about this golf course or event before we move forward?
Nope, think you covered it.
All right, I only have 4 guys. I know you have 6, Jake. So let's kick things off.
Yeah, I went straight to the top of the board, back to the well here. I'm ready for pain again. Emiliano Grillo, 18 to 1. I think he's the cream of the crop here.
Yep.
I thought 18 was a generous number. Rest of my card is pretty much long shots, but just on the PGA Tour season, he is 61st in strokes gained total, 60th off the tee, 53rd on approach, 157th around the green. So please just hit the green, Emiliano, because 37th in putting. This guy used to struggle mightily with the putter, and it seems to have turned a corner. I love what I saw last week, minus the one playoff hole where he just missed the fairway. Aside from that, he smacked almost every other fairway straight down the middle, which is going to be important this week. Irons we know can get nuclear. Putters cooperating this year. As long as he doesn't find himself chipping to save par too many times, I feel really good about the number and hope that he can get it done this week for me.
Yeah, and calling your shot there, you were just on him last week in an unfortunate playoff hole. Yeah, if he were to find the a fairway, who knows what would have happened on that playoff hole to get another PGA Tour victory under his belt there. But yeah, going back to your guys, there's no shame in doing so. And 18 and 1, there's a lot of meat in the bone left there.
Yeah.
All right, so my first click this week, and a guy that I knew I had circled heading this event, was Vince Whaley at 28 to 1. Great form come this week. 33rd last week, the John Deere, 32nd, the Rocket Classic, 52nd in Canada, 11th at Charles Schwab, 37th at Myrtle, 15th at Byron Nelson, 26th at the Zurich, and 7th at the Corliss Budokan Championship. Ninth on tour in par threes. He's 10th in both par fives and scrambling. 36th in putting on bent grass. 55th in sand saves. 64th in approximate hole for 175 plus. 65th off the tee. 69 around the green. Uh, the approach number 134 is a bit worrisome, but again, he gained 0.263 strokes on approach per round of John Deere, 0.133 at the Rocket, and 0.57 in Canada. So the approach plays coming around. The irons are doing well. The rest of his game is already there. So if he does that this week, gains with the approach, with everything else he has to offer, I think this could be his week.
Yeah, I like the call, and especially if this turns out to be a golf course that you could overpower with driving distance. I know a lot of people are leaning towards accuracy. Whaley has the power to overpower a course, so if this does become, a driving distance advantage, on top of everything you already mentioned, I think that this is a really good spot for him.
Yeah, there are a multitude of dog legs on this golf course that some suggest that you can take the corners away and set yourself up, twice as far as maybe some of these guys who lay up off the tee to find themselves in the middle of the fairway. So we'll see how it goes there. And again, brand new golf course we've yet to see, so it could come down to that.
Yeah, definitely. And moving into my next play, which I know we have some crossover, I went very heavy on driving accuracy. So if it does become a power fest, my card is going to quickly go to shambles. It's Carson Young at 50 to 1. Numbers just too big in such a, crappy event. These are the events that he tends to thrive in. A 10th in Puerto Rico, a 13th in Myrtle Beach, a 5th last week. He pounds fairways, very accurate off the tee. The irons he tends to struggle with a little bit. Again, gained with those last week. And the putter also, it's been pretty solid as of recent. On the season, he is 104th in strokes gained total, 48th off the tee, 107th on approach, 148th around the greens, and then 91st in putting. It's these crappy events that I love to just tee up Carson Young, and I think 50 to 1 is juicy enough for me to take a stab at.
Yeah, Carson Wentz. Oh yeah, Carson Wentz. Jeez. Carson Young has been kind of that alt field, smaller field event merchant for the last season for me. Uh, with you right now at 50 to 1 on him. Very, very easily click for me. You mentioned everything we need to talk about him. He's also 47th in starts game putting on bent grass. The par five number is very scary considering that this is a par 72. So hopefully he can come around on some of these par fives. He's 171 in par five average scoring with 174 qualifying golfers there. So darn near dead last in that category. But everything else checks out really well. Fifth last week. Really love to see that. 13th in Myrtle, you talked about that. It just seems like an event that Carson Young will be in contention in come Sunday. And yeah, so that only leaves me with two guys. So I'll let you take another guy here, Jake.
Uh, the next guy, all right, I'm going to skip one guy because I know that you have him, but I'm going to go with Zach Blair at 150 to 1 here. Um, I was kind of surprised at how big this number was. All of my next four plays are over 100 to 1, by the way, just because of that Grio number. But a 33rd last week at the John Deere, horrendous form all season long. He had an 18th at the Corrales Punta Cana Open, which, again, crappier field event, solid finish for Zach Blair. But if you look at what happened last year, where he finished T2 at this event, again, different venue, could play very differently, obviously. He had a 46 at the John Deere and came in and finished T2 at the ISCO. So I'm not really weighing too much of recent form, which is pretty rare for me. But again, he pounds fairways. His irons have been very good as of recent. He's gained in three of his last four PGA Tour starts. And the putter is kind of where it's in his hands. If he could putt well, his around the green's also very solid. So again, at 150 to 1, I'm taking a chance on a runner-up at this event last year and a guy who fits the mold for this course pretty well.
Yeah, love the play there. Kind of one of those guys that splits time, I think, between the Corn Ferry and the PGA Tour now, and kind of bounce back to the Corn Ferry and attempt to like save himself and save his card. A lot of people do that are towards the end of the deep or the PGA Tour in doing so. But yeah, a runner up a season ago plays this area of golf rather well. 150 to 1, have to do it. Have to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so bouncing back to my third guy, Chandler Phillips at 50 to 1. And we joked about this, and hopefully strokes game mustaches is a big thing this week with Carson Young and Chandler Phillips on the card here. But yeah, missed cut last week with John Deere, but prior to that, 13th of the Rocket. He was 64th in Canada, missed the cut at both Charles Schwab and Myrtle, but 15th at the Byron Nelson and 10th in Zurich. He's 11th on tour in strokes gained putting bent grass, so very, very good bent grass putter. He's 28th in par threes, 51st on scrambling, 56th in driving accuracy, 66th around the green, 73rd in approximate hole for 175 plus. 107th on approach, not anything too crazy, but in a field like this, 107 on the PGA Tour will be just fine in doing so. So yeah, Chandler Phillips 50-1. Again, kind of one of these alt field merchants in my opinion. So I thought the number was good for his quality of play.
Yeah, not much to add here. Again, feels like an alt fields contender, and it just makes a lot of sense at, what feels like a juicy number on him.
There we go.
All right, so my next play here is I'm going to a DP World Tour guy who's had success. It's Davis Bryant at 150-1. Again, fits this bill really well. Had a really impressive week last week at the BMW International Open where he finished T4. Week before that, he finished T10 at the Italian Open. He's also had some really good finishes on the Challenge Tour earlier in the year. Obviously, there's concern. I mentioned this to you before we got on the pod. These DP World Tour guys who are playing consistently overseas, it feels like it's really rare for them to just come back to or come to the United States and have the success that they're having on the DP World Tour. He fits his bill really well, though. It was enough for me at 150-1 to take a chance. He hits fairways. His irons he's gained in three straight. Putter he's gained in his last two of three, in which he gained 1.69 strokes per rounds last time with the putter. Um, Big number on a DP World Tour guy who's in some good form, so it felt like I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, DP World Tour guy, but American, played his college golf here, of course. Colorado State, I believe, is where he's from. Very good form coming in, although in the DP World Tour, I think he was the 54 hole leader last week,
Yep.
or 36 at least, on the at the BMW International Open in Germany. So yeah, good shot at 50-1 in this field. I mean, anyone can win this event. I know we say that each and every week, but this is wide open. This is
Yeah.
wide open. So yeah, love the play. All right, so my final play here, I'm assuming you're on him as well, Jake, if you skipped over for me, and that's Kazuma Kapori.
Yep.
Last week gave me some fun on Sunday morning at 200-1 with that final round of -9 on Sunday. Just a very talented guy. Excuse me here, my computer's acting up a little bit. But yeah, the New Zealand product, third last week at the BMW International Open. He was also 16th in Italy, missed the cut to KLM and Austrian Alpine Open prior to that 25th at the Sudal, 52nd in Turkey, 45th in Hainan, 20th in China, and 9th in the Poor Singapore Classic. DP World Tour, he's second in driving accuracy. So if the accuracy is needed, as Jake has talked about already, right there with him. 8th in scrambling, 12th in par threes, 20th in putting, 45th around the green, 48th birdie or better, 66th on approach. So 72nd off the tee as well. That's slightly average on the DP World Tour. So some slight above average approach, a very good putter, and a super, super straight driver of the ball. Checking out for what we want here. 125-1 where I grabbed him. And this may just be a little bit of FOMO with having him last week as well at 200-1 and barely getting it done. But 125-1. And this is a guy I would not be surprised. I know for the casual fan who doesn't follow the DP World Tour, if Kazuma Kapori were to win this event, they're like, who the heck is this guy? I've never even heard of him
Yeah.
before. And even we hear about that in the United States when like Matt McCarty won, or even Harry Hall at some of these events that are Corn Ferry guys that play here in the States. They're like, who are these guys? Who are these guys? And it'd be even more if some young guy from New Zealand who just made it on the DP World Tour comes over here, claims a PGA Tour card. They'll be surprised. But it'll be a matter of time before Kapori's back here in the United States playing with a PGA Tour card anyhow. So let's just get it done right now, opposed to waiting a few years down the road and playing this event 125-1.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I'm not going to harp on it too much longer, but similar logic that I used for Davis Bryant, just DP World Tour guy in good form at a course that makes a lot of sense for the skills that they bring to the table.
Yeah, last year at this event, I think I had Andy Sullivan, who was 54 hole leader at this event. So hopefully that we do one better than that this year with a DP World Tour guy and get a victory this week.
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
one more,
So
Jake?
yeah, I got one more. It's John Pack at 180-1. I'm not going to bore you with his stats on the season. The only one I'll point out is that he's 37th on approach, which is really impressive. Pretty consistent throughout the year. The putter he's gained in two of his last four. He's gained in accuracy in the field in three of his last three. The around the green is really abysmal, so it's a little scary. But um, again, 180-1, I'm getting a guy who seems to maybe have a hot putter, has good irons, and is hitting fairways as of recent. So in this weak field event, I'm happy to take my shot on him.
Yeah, 34th on the PGA Tour. You may have the best iron player in the entire field with John Pack. That can go a long way with some of these guys in this field and the caliber of this field. So it's a good stat in the dark at 180 to 1, no doubt about that. And John Pack's a popular guy. I see him on betting cards each and every week. He's in the field, no matter the level of talent. So a good shout there.
Yep.
All right. Well, that rounds it out this week, guys. Remember, if you're looking for some further golf content, not only do you want to join our Discord, Jake will talk about here shortly, but be sure to visit weknowfans.com. The Amundi Evian Championship, fourth of the five LPGA majors article is up there as well. My Live Golf Andalusia article is up there as well. And of course, next week, final major of the season. So that'll be on the weknowfans.com as well. But before we do hop off here, Jake, where can people find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. Both my outright cards are already posted there as well. But be sure to join our Discord for some exclusive content. Nate posts his first round leaders. I know that has some additional articles that are open to the public, but it's easier, honestly, to click into the articles. But if you want to see the Discord, be sure to join. I also post matchups exclusively in there. NASCAR channel, golf channel, everything's active, open to everyone, no hidden paywalls. Just reach out to Nate or myself and we'll get you the link to join completely free.
Easy enough. We harp about it all the time, guys, but it's such a great tool. There is a ton of people on there, not only us just posting things, it is active 24/7, at least in the golf side of things, and some very, very educated people about golf and betting in general in that Discord. So be sure to check that out. You can find myself, Nate, on Twitter at We Know Fantasy. No, I lied. On Twitter at WKF Nate. Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. I talked about the website already. So, yeah, with that being said, we'll see you guys next week.